Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the vortex and arrive at episode number 325, where the truth is rarely pure and never simple. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn. Just about forgot my line.
Your name, you mean?
Well, I almost forgot my line.
I'm Wine.
Who am I?
I'm okay. It's been a long week.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Me too.
Been a busy weekend.
Me too.
You guys have a good week? Do anything fun?
We finished Legion.
Yeah, I finished Legion too.
I'm still only halfway. I haven't got back in.
Halfway through the series?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, we can't talk about that.
No. It's good. I think it ended just as strong as it started off, and there's little dips throughout the whole series, but they don't dip far at all. Solid storytelling. And I even wrote a review on my blog.
I saw that.
That's how impressed I was with it.
Wow, Glenn's really impressed. He dusted off the word processor.
It's been about a year since I wrote anything on my blog.
I will say, we just through happenstance of how we were watching, we wound up putting episodes 6 and 7 together back to back, and then finished up with 8. When you get to them, I would recommend that.
Yeah, I would
6 and
agree.
7 have a really strong
I'll try to
inflow
watch
and
them
outflow.
close to each other.
I
Well,
would
I'll
agree.
probably try to watch all of them close to each other at this point, but hard telling when that will happen.
In fact, episode 8 almost feels like it's starting another story.
Ah.
It's almost a coda.
Yeah, kind of a coda. Yeah.
Oh, we went out and saw Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, what'd you think?
I liked it.
Have you seen the anime?
It's not as good as the anime. There's just if you are a big fan of the anime, you will be probably slightly disappointed. Certain stories are told in the format in which they need to be told, and Ghost in the Shell is definitely an anime story. It needs to be told in that cartoon format, but it would still make a pretty good live-action movie, and I think they succeeded in that. It's not a big, gigantic, over-the-top action film, which is kind of what Paramount was billing it as, and
Yeah.
I thought was a mistake. It's got great action moments, and I don't know, have you seen the anime?
No, I haven't, actually.
For those of you that are wondering, they got the tank scene right. That's all I'm going to say. That was kind of, for me, that was the linchpin. You have to get this moment right. And they did. I thought the characterizations were great. The Chief and Batu and all the kind of side characters were really well done. I thought Scarlett Johansson did a fine job. And for anybody that was really overly offended or concerned about the whitewashing, I didn't really see it, quite honestly. And there's even a line in there. It wasn't put in to justify it, but it does kind of explain it. And of course, the creator had come out and said that, you know, she's an android body. It doesn't really matter what nationality she is. He was okay with it. But yeah, I mean, it's
I don't think that's the point, but okay.
no, I mean, I understand, and this is one of those, I don't want to come across as crass, you know, if Disney announced, in the live-action Mulan remake, we got Britney Spears to play Mulan, I would be offended. I would be very upset by that, because that's not how that story works. When you're dealing
But
with...
they got a white person to play the male role. in
I've
that.
never really thought of Major, the character of Major, I've never really thought of her as Asian. She is a robot, for all intents and purposes. I mean, that's the way that story plays out, because that's the thrust of Ghost in the Shell is, do you still have a soul? Is there still anything human left in there? And those are the kind of the questions that this thing is trying to answer. And ScarJo is kind of robotic in her delivery. I mean, when you go back and watch her in the Avengers, Black Widow's kind of a one-note. Yeah. She's great, but she's kind of a one-note thing. She just doesn't have much inflection in her tonal vocabulary. So she's perfect casting for this character. Anyway, like I said, I thought they did a fine job of that. Do you need to rush right out and see it? No. If you want to wait for the dollar theater, you'd be fine. It's kind of... I don't want to necessarily compare it to Aeon Flux.
Which arguably had worse... Not arguably, had worse whitewashing.
Yeah.
Way worse whitewashing.
It's kind of in that same vein of, it's not as good as the cartoon, but it was fine for what it was. So, you know, Mel really enjoyed it. She's never seen the anime, so that'll make a huge difference, because we're going to go back now and I'll show her the animated story. But, you know, it was just a fun time out at the theater. You can wait for DVD. It'll be just as fun.
Wait till you get it, and then I'll borrow it for 3 years.
We finished watching Victoria.
And?
It was alright. It wasn't as good as The Crown, but it picked up near the end. Jenna Coleman did a good job in it. There's just the first half of this season, Victoria is very whiny. I did not like that. But once she kind of gets settles into the role of Queen, I think she did a pretty good job. It's a show that I'm not dying for season 2, but once it comes back, I'll probably watch it.
Mason and I are halfway through the Doctor Who level twice. Because the game keeps freezing up.
Oh,
so.
no.
Oh.
And you can't go back to a checkpoint. You have to go back to the beginning to do the whole level again, which I think is a fatal flaw with Lego games. But this time it locked up right after we freed a Jadoon, because we went ahead and hired a hero and cut the vines, freed the Jadoon, and as he ran over to do his thing, whatever he was doing, game froze up. Although this time through, we found the little special piece because we had a Harry Potter character. We were able to grow the plant and get the Kettlewell robot.
Oh, yes,
So,
yes.
so we got that. Well, no, we didn't get it because the
because
game
it's
froze up and we're having to start over again. So
That's frustrating.
But now we know where to go this time.
But still enjoying it despite the problems.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to keep freezing up, though, I don't know how soon I'm going to go back to it. Because we've had a couple of issues when we've done some of the worlds, which don't really matter that much because it's just world stuff.
Yeah.
And you can go back into the middle of that once you've done stuff. But keeps kicking us out of a level, then yeah, I have a feeling we probably are going to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the game or if it's my system, but I may do a reinstall.
I want to say my game locked up on the very last level, so I couldn't beat it. Like, it kept glitching, so I couldn't do whatever I was supposed to do, and then I finally was able to get it to do it. It took me a lot of tries. It was very frustrating.
It is very much a traveler's tale thing.
Yeah.
They seem to do that a lot. But
Especially the scope of this game. It's so much bigger.
It's big, yeah.
My weekend was very busy because we had the baby shower this weekend, which went really well. Got lots of presents, and a lot of people had fun, so... And we've started telling people her name.
I have a question about this. I will wait for you to...
So Ollie says, that's kind of strange that Keith and Sarah are telling the baby's name. And I went, no, they're not.
We just decided this weekend.
She said, yeah, they are. And I said, what is it? And she said it, and I was like, that doesn't sound familiar. I think I remember that. And then I said, they said that at the shower? Yeah. And I said, we didn't even know the name. How come you know the name first?
So we just decided this weekend to start telling people. And it is Gemma Ainsley.
Which I think is a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Gemma, in my mind, knowing you guys got that from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, but it's not because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we
Okay.
got it from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And then Ainsley, I immediately went, oh, they named her after the Master.
I
Wait,
didn't think
no,
of that.
there's an S in there because it's just Ainley.
Yeah.
But
Ainsley actually comes from West Wing. Well,
oh,
That's where we heard the name, but we
Okay.
like the name. It's not because of these characters, we just heard them from there.
Got it.
We like the characters, but it's not, that reason.
You didn't name her Leia. You just
Yeah. Amelia was a front runner, but we didn't want to do another sound at the end of the middle name, and a lot of A names end in We were sure on Gemma. It just took a long time to figure out the middle name.
so Keith, Sarah, Gemma,
And Cody.
and Cody.
So she'll be Jam.
She's going to hate you when she has to get gym shorts.
Jam. Yep.
Not if she plays basketball.
That's true.
She's gonna be a 9 foot tall mutant. She's gonna be like huge.
Seemed like she has longer legs, just from the sonograms
Well, there
and
you
stuff. So she has my legs.
Well, tell her to give them back.
Who's the character on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? Was it Wilt?
I never watched that.
Oh, really?
Really, really tall.
Tall basketball.
Glenn, did you guys do anything else besides Lego Dimensions?
Yeah, I've been so busy this week. Just did a bunch of stuff around the house. Had family day.
Yeah, well, part of the busy weekend wasn't just the shower. I mean, family was in town, so, had to go visit with them and whatnot.
Mason and I took advantage of the fact that the girls went to the baby shower, so that's where we spent most of our time on the Xbox.
Nice.
Both Minecraft and then failed Doctor Who.
My book came in.
Yeah, we should talk
I got
about
your
that.
book too. Well, I got
Did you get one?
the book. Well, you didn't see my Instagram?
I did, and I couldn't tell if that was just a Glenn ripped off the picture and was posting
No,
congratulations
no.
messages, or
That
if you'd
was
actually
mine.
ordered one.
That was mine. Yeah, no, I've ordered all of the Havoc files.
I'm on Glenn's shelf.
You're on my shelf. Well, you're on the end table right now. You'll be on the shelf.
Eventually, I'll be on.
When
that
I'm done
shelf.
with it, it'll be shelved.
When I'm done with you, I'll put you over here in this pile.
Looks like a lot
I'll
of people
cast
got
you
our
away
copies
with the
this
rest
week.
of the...
It was nerve wracking because everybody kept, I kept getting all these Facebook notifications and congratulation messages, and I got my book in the mail. I'm so excited for you, and I'm like, man, I hope this story doesn't suck. Because it's one thing to write it and put it out there, and then find out people actually have it. Now it's like, oh, you're reading it, okay.
And the reaction's been good so far,
So
right?
far the reaction's been
Yeah.
good, so I'm grateful.
I kept seeing online, Candy Jar reported that, books have gone out. And I was like, oh, yay. And then I had this in the back of my mind. I ordered that one, right? I've ordered every one of them. Surely I ordered that one, but I just had no memory of doing the actual ordering. Yeah, surely I did. I'll just wait. And then people in the UK started getting them, and I thought, well, I'll wait because ours is usually a week or two later. And then people in the US started getting them and posting, "Congratulations, Sean!" And I still didn't have a book, and I thought, I failed to order this time, didn't I? And just as I had lost hope that I had, or had convinced myself that I hadn't ordered, I went to the mailbox the next day, and there it was. So.
It's very interesting. You can literally see the shipping habits as they came out in England. And then they hit the East Coast, and then been in Indiana, and then the next day I got mine. So.
People in California are getting them now.
Very exciting.
Hard at work formulating ideas for another one. And Andy's rolling his eyes going, no!
And there's still some available, aren't they?
There are still a few available.
Yeah,
so.
in fact, they had a special this week where you could get a really good deal on that and Feast of Evan, too. Not Feast of Evan, the Evan one.
The Life of Evans?
Life of Evans.
Yeah, so if you haven't got your copy and you're curious, it's a limited print run. Go to Candy Jar Books and take advantage of that order and special and get one.
That's your life. First time published in an actual book, and it's a limited run.
I've had many people. So where can I get this? Online? In England?
There'll be a PDF soon. Or an
From the publisher.
The reaction has always been the same. Oh. You're making that up. You're not really published.
Did your mom stick it to her fridge?
I assume so. I haven't been over there yet. I gave it to her. I autographed it and gave it to her. So.
Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to have you autograph mine. I forgot to bring it.
Brittany asked on Facebook, she says, so you think if I ask real nicely, Sean will autograph this? I'm like, you don't even have to ask nicely. just mail it to me and demand it. Or hold on to it until I get to meet you, Brittany.
Sean will be signing them at our table at Planet Comic Con. You'll have to bring your own copy because we won't have any for you. And they'll be done in, 20 books?
If that. Yeah, if you do live in the area and would like an autographed copy, bring it to Planet Comic Con. I will happily sign whatever you put in front of me. What's that?
Just
Blank
sign your
check.
section, though, so you're not signing
no.
on behalf of everybody else.
No, I wouldn't do that. Real big Sharpie on the cover. Yeah.
Where are you at? I'm the 10-page book, 10-page story. I'm about halfway through.
Let's move on to news.
Okay,
So
where are
we
we
got
going to start this week? There's a lot.
We got a new trailer.
Yay!
What did you guys think of it?
I was mad that I was spoiled at the end that the 12th Doctor's going to regenerate this season. God. So mad. So angry. I can't believe they showed me that. God.
I know.
Because it ruined the
I
surprise.
had no idea he was leaving.
Yeah. Moffat was apparently angry. Did you see that
is that
article?
right?
Yeah, he didn't want to.
He because apparently he had kind of built it into that trailer, and then Capaldi announced, I'm leaving, and Moffat went,
Oh.
because he was going to hit people with the regeneration look, and we would
Yeah.
all freaked out.
And now everybody's like me going, yeah, big whoop.
Yeah.
But it makes it seem like he's regenerating sooner than we thought.
You say that. I don't know.
I don't think it will be. I think it's a bait and switch.
You're saying you don't think they've shot the Christmas episode yet?
Yeah. And I'm saying I don't think he regenerates in season 10. I think it's like a handy doctor situation of some sort.
You don't think it's a shot from the Christmas
I don't think
episode?
so. I don't know. I know they've just now wrapped season 10.
If you analyze it, we only see his hand. We see the little, orange glowy from his hand. And we've seen the 11th Doctor do that and heal River in
Yeah.
Angels Take Manhattan.
So it's nothing.
I mean, there's possible that it...
Let's kill Hitler.
No, she...
Oh, that's right. He does it with
her-
he does it with the
he
wrist.
He does it when
yeah.
she broke her wrist.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she heals him when he's poisoned in Let's Kill Hitler.
You're right. I am incorrect.
But she ends up giving up her last regeneration doing that. So.
Yeah.
That we're aware of.
It was an exciting trailer. It made me more excited for the series.
What do you mean that we're aware of? We've seen her die.
The Doctor was out of regenerations. He
When
got
we
more.
met River, she died. She died in the library.
That we're aware of.
No. Oh, Lord.
She still exists as a digital construct.
She does.
So she
yes.
definitely doesn't have any
But
more
she's out of
'cause she doesn't have a
regeneration.
physical body.
Retcon. Be fixed.
Now, that's not to argue that the Master ran out of them several times and just kept stealing bodies and they got a whole new set. So,
right.
But, that being said,
She'd have to steal
we
a new
did
body.
see her use her last regeneration. We know that's gone.
Until she
that's
gets
definitive.
more. This is Doctor Who. All rules are like...
All rules are off the table.
I learned a long time ago that anything I think is set in stone with this show is like, no. You throw that out.
All right.
And so I mainly do it just to aggravate you. But anytime you come down and say, that's set in stone now, I go, no. That we're
You're
aware
right.
of.
You're absolutely right. And that actual physical wall that they showed us in the comics for the time lock, yeah, that's set in stone now? No.
Well played. Well played.
Thank you.
I got nothing.
The other bit of news, this big bit of news this week that the BBC announced.
Should we...
Potential
Spoiler warning.
spoilers.
Yeah.
but
Let's
as
not be like everybody else.
Need a horn here, yeah.
we've said before, if the BBC announces it, it's not a spoiler anymore.
No,
Despite
we
what
said
you
it's
might
fair
feel.
game.
It's
We
fair
didn't say
game.
it's not
Yeah,
a
it's true.
spoiler.
Okay.
Because
So
it's
it's
still
fair
a
game.
spoiler.
Hey, let me set this up. So there's a piece of news that came out this week that indicates a certain someone, as in an actor from New Who, is coming back in this series, playing a character that they're reprising a role. Okay, not a big deal, except for the fact of who it is and what role they're in.
So now, do you sound the spoiler
So-
warning? Because now you've done a non-spoilery thing.
That's the non-spoilery
All right.
version of it, and that's what I would have liked to have seen. Click here if you want to know more. I'm sounding the spoiler horn for all of our listeners now. We're going to talk about if you want to know more.
Which apparently, from all rumors, is in the trailer for at the end of season episode 1.
This is the one that Moffat said will melt your brain, and there was going to be a countdown so you could look away if you didn't want to know.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Supposedly. We don't know if it's true or not. If it's for sure.
And then it was all over Facebook. So
I only
angry.
saw one that actually hid the news. One site.
That's the one I posted from.
Yeah.
All right, spoilers sounded. We're going to talk about it now. Keith, what's the news?
John Sim is returning as the Master. Alongside Missy. We're getting a multi-master story.
The only way I knew about it was when I clicked on that clickbait post on our website or on our
that Sean
Facebook.
posted?
It's Sean posted.
The one that said spoilers inside.
You know, by
That's
the
the one I
by the
posted.
way, by you setting that up with a non-spoilery way of doing that, you have just turned this podcast into a clickbait piece. Because now the people that have stuck around to find out what that intriguing news was just clicked on that because they kept playing their audio on their
My life is now complete.
For those of you still with us, yes, John Sim is going to be returning as the Master.
The difference,
as
though,
Keith just said.
The difference, though, I consider clickbait would be something worthless that I didn't need to know.
Well,
You-
that's true.
You teased me with
Yeah.
something that was going to be amazing, and then it was something I already knew.
That's true.
This was legitimately new.
That's true.
So my
That's
life's
true.
work is not complete.
Save that for the pledge drive.
What do you guys think of John Sim being back?
I'm not super wowed by it. I think it's cool. I'm glad that it's going to happen. I think it'll be
it's
neat.
about time
It's
we
a
got
good multi-master
yeah.
story. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a multi-master
Not on
story
screen.
on screen. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, no, we haven't.
No.
No.
I'm excited for all those reasons. I want a multi-master story. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm jazzed. I'm super excited. I'm hoping they'll fix John Sim. So for all of that, yay. Man, am I angry that this is how I found out about it. Because if I had not known that going into this episode, and Missy showed up, and I went, oh, okay, so this is the Master episode. And then at the trailer, the cliffhanger, whatever, John Sim stepped out of the way. I went, oh!
Look,
And I won't get that moment
we're
now.
in a-
we
age
are
of
all in an
spoilers.
age of that. And in
I know.
fact, when John Sim came around the first time and was going to be the Master, that was spoiled long before
I know.
E too. So you've just got to come to grips with the
But that was
fact
also before we started this podcast, so I wasn't
That's
nearly
true.
as plugged in.
We are in an era now,
blame
though.
you.
We are in an era now that you cannot escape spoilers. It's
No,
just
you really
it is
can't.
next to impossible to escape them. And if you don't watch an episode of Game of Thrones the night that it airs, then
You just got to stay off social media completely
Right,
until
I mean,
you watch whatever you don't
well,
want to
that
be
doesn't
spoiled
even
on.
work because I've spoiled stuff and stayed off. It's just you get glimmers from little pieces of places. So
It's easier now with this new job.
You're
I don't see those
That's
TV
true.
screens.
You're not
and
online.
I'm not online. It's
I'm excited. I wish I'd have been more excited. I wish I'd
I
have
didn't
been
believe it
purely
when I first saw
excited.
it. I thought, what?
You thought it was the David Tennant article?
Well, this is an old April Fool's joke that just is now resurfacing, or it just, yeah. I just didn't happen to see it on April Fool's, and somebody sharing it, not realizing it was an April Fool's joke.
I think John Sims and Michelle Gomez are fantastic actors, and I think that it'll be really kind of cool to see them play off of each other.
It really will. Considering I haven't gotten much from what to expect from the season so far, it makes me more excited.
You know, every time I see a trailer, I feel like I get a whole buttload of stuff You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Knowing what's coming up. I mean, not really knowing what's coming
But
up,
getting
but
an
just
idea.
really getting a good idea of what's going to happen this season. And I don't think I've ever felt that with a trailer before. And now we've had, 3? And it's that's how it's been. It's been
Yeah.
very, oh, okay, you're really not holding back on any of the surprises, are you now?
Which makes me
Mondasi
wonder
and
what.
Cybermen.
Which makes me wonder
returning.
what surprises Moffat really has in store.
Well,
Because if he's
that's-
allowing these surprises to come out,
That's what I'm hoping is the case. Is that, hey, inundate them with the stuff that they think. Oh, you've given me everything that I can give, and then give me more. That might be a way to do the.
Which just seems like Moffat's done in the past, in
Right.
previous seasons.
Yeah,
That
but
might
we've
be
also
the way.
had those amazing. Who do you think it is? Who do you think it is? Oh yeah, that's who it was.
Oh well,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
We've gone both sides of the spectrum. So
Our last bit of news is that BritBox launched a while ago and didn't have Doctor Who on it. They have since rectified that error and now have a massive collection. Well, I saw that BritBox launched and I went to it and I was like, well, I'm not signing up for this. There's no Doctor Who. And then just this past week they announced massive collection coming. There now. And it is a massive collection. It will rival most DVD sets unless you have a fully complete set.
Unless you're Sean.
I'm getting closer.
Plus, there's extras, including An Adventure in Space and Time, Canine and Company, the full season of Doctors Revisited, and then the Five-ish Doctors. So if you never got to see the Five-ish Doctors here in the U.S., here's your opportunity.
That's worth the $6.99 a month right there alone.
For Canine and Company? Hell yeah.
It's not what I meant, but okay.
And there is a large selection. And
That too is great.
They're going to be adding more. They're working on getting the other ones that they don't have. And then for the missing episodes, they're working on getting the audios uploaded. So you can at least listen to the audios for those stories. So they'll essentially have reconstructions. Mainly what they're missing so far from what I've seen are obviously the missing episodes. And the missing episodes they have animated.
That was my next question. If the animated
Those
were
aren't there yet. And then, oddly enough, most of the Dalek stories beyond the Fourth Doctor. And the movie isn't included in the classic series.
Well,
Previous-
that doesn't surprise me with the movie, since it's still some rights held by
Hold on.
Universal.
Most of the Third Doctor's Dalek stories there. I'm not sure if all of them are.
Okay.
And then Destiny and Genesis are. But
And
the
three
three R's
are not. Oh, okay.
In fact, if you go to the website,
They could only afford so much of the Daleks.
it will list
What's our budget for the Daleks? Oh, we don't have enough. Well, throw the R's out. They're
it
worthless
lists
anyway.
every single episode for each Doctor, and it will just say unavailable next to the ones that aren't there.
Okay.
So you know there's not a hole. You know that's what story is next, which is a nice way to do it.
Well, admittedly, if I had a certain set budget for Dalek episodes and I could get the 3 R's, or I could pay for Genesis, I'm paying for Genesis.
Genesis,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. That's just the way that
Yeah,
works.
but I would shell out for the 3 R's before I'd shell out for the Pertwee ones.
Well, but those were probably dirt cheap.
There's a reason those are there.
We can give you the Pertwees and Genesis, or we can give you Genesis and the R's. But the Pertwees are at a remarkably low price.
It's true.
If you get these, we will also throw in Web Planet. Oh, well.
I think they give Whip Grip Planet for free. Take that one.
Special offer, BOGO.
Equal or lesser price.
I take that back. The Invasion is there.
Isn't,
Is
there. Animated.
it doesn't show animated, so it might be the audios. The Web of Fear is fully there too, so I'm assuming there's a recon version of that. I can't remember
Well,
which
Web of Fear is
episode.
only missing one, and it has a BBC sanctioned reconstruction. So
That's exciting though. So
Oh, yeah, there's
and
a
it's
lot
only
of stuff there.
$6.99 a month. It's really
Yeah.
affordable.
$7 is. I mean, I got rid of Acorn, so I may have to pick up BritBox.
Tell them the other part. The part that you wished we'd have known about. Did you hear about this?
Oh yeah, in a section in classic Doctor Who, you can scroll by Doctor, by villains, so you can have the collection of Cybermen, Daleks, the Master, Best of Unit, Best of Sarah Jane. Then there's Beyond Who, which includes Doctor Who actors and other things.
Oh.
Hound of the Baskervilles.
Ah.
It's mostly New Who actors. Lennon Naked, Single Father, starring David Tennant.
Wait, is Lennon Naked on there?
Yeah.
Oh.
A Touch of Frost, The Last Detective, stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. I will definitely be getting this.
But still, we did it first.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's the important thing to take away from this.
Well, maybe they listen.
We are so awesome
Maybe they listened to us and they said,
BritBox said,
hey,
that's a great
good
idea."
Yeah, right.
I'm retcon. Sold.
So that's really exciting that there's finally a Classic Who selection online to stream.
Well, it's only been a year. They pulled them from Netflix in March of last year, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
March or April.
Yeah.
I think that's added to this wilderness year feel that
because you can't even stream
you
the
can't even
back
stream the
catalog.
back catalog anymore either, or the new Who catalog. I mean,
unless
so
you
it's
have
all
Amazon
gone.
Prime.
Unless you have Amazon Prime. Yay for the news. My reaction to it's kind of meh.
Well, it's because you own everything on
Partially
DVD.
because I own everything, or most everything on DVD. So I've got.
Someone like me who's not a completist is very tempted by this.
I kind of go back to the whole $6.99 a month thing, and I like Star Trek or whatever my particular poison is at the moment. Do I want to shell out an additional monthly fee for it? And as much as I love this stuff, the answer is no, not really.
Well, for me, what it comes down to is it's the breadth of the content that it provides. And listening to and reading some of the BritBox content that's available there, that's not available on Netflix, that's not available on Hulu, that's not available, then it suddenly makes it worth it. Going to CBS All Access and just getting CBS All Access for Star Trek, no, to me that's not really worth it. Going to BritBox for just Doctor Who, that may not be worth it, but if there's enough other stuff, and it's starting to sound like there
There's a lot on here.
then that gives me that gives me more bang for my buck, and I am willing to go pay $7 a month to be able to access all this other content.
Yeah, it depends on what else is on there. I mean, if they included things like
There's a
Ray
lot
Being
of stuff
Served
I've
and Monty
never-
Python and those undiscovered gems that maybe you've always wanted to get into but couldn't because it wasn't available outside of England. All right, then yeah, maybe that's certainly more tempting to me than another streaming channel.
Right.
I mean, because I've got Netflix and I've got Amazon Prime, not just because I have Prime. And there's stuff on there that I would watch, but I already have more streaming content than I have time to view.
Yeah, I would
yeah.
agree. I would agree.
So it would really have to be, okay. I had digital cable for a while, and the Independent Film Channel was included with the massive package of stuff, and I was so excited. Oh my God, Independent Film Channel, this is going to be great. And I think I watched one thing on it in the year and a half that I had it, and then got rid of it because it was expensive.
Right.
So, but I'm not being a downer. Yay, people have access to it. That's what
Right.
I'm excited
That's,
about.
Yes,
that's
that's
nice
the best
about
one.
it.
And that's it for news. Shall we move on to feedback?
Let's.
Our first bit of feedback comes from Robert. He says, BritBox. Hello. I signed up for BritBox when the announcement came that it was getting Classic Who. I've been using it for a few days and wanted to pass along my first impression. I suppose this will go along with yours if you have any, and anyone else who's trying it and has sent in feedback. The streaming quality is good. I haven't experienced any lags or buffering, and I have used it at various times. Since streaming video services aren't new, that's probably no great surprise. But being a viewer of the Cord Killers podcast and recalling their stories about larger services having problems at launch, it's something I'm paying attention to. As has been reported, BritBox does have most of what's available from the classic era, with the exception of the missing episodes and certain Dalek stories. There appear to be place markers for what's missing. All the stories are classified by Doctor and by season. They also have a few extras, which include the Five-ish Doctors reboots and Adventure in Space and Time. There are a couple of minor bothers with the service. On my phone, I have to tap the screen to get the play buttons to disappear once an episode starts. They don't automatically disappear. Also, there doesn't seem to be an obvious way to play the next episode of something. You end up going back to the episode list to play what's next. I'm hoping these get fixed over time. I poked around BritBox outside of Doctor Who, and it's interesting what they appear to have. There's Red Dwarf, Campion, the Tom Baker version of Hound of Baskervilles, Fawlty Towers, Blackadder, and the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes series. There is the ability to create a watch list, though it seems to be by show and season, than just by show. Overall, I plan to keep the service a while. At $7 a month, it's not a bad price for all of classic Doctor Who, plus a number of other British shows that I'd like to see, or haven't seen in ages, but might not want to buy outright. Looking forward to learning what others think of BritBox. Otherwise, counting down the days to new Doctor Who, and for me, new Mystery Science Theater 3000. Take care, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Robert.
Robert. Good to hear from you.
Local author and friend of the show.
Yeah.
Sounds like his reaction is kind of very similar to what we...
Yeah.
I'm glad to get a word on the streaming, though, that it's
Good quality.
good quality.
Might be a blessing that BritBox launched before dropping the classic Doctor Who titles then. Maybe they were able to work out some of the bugs before.
That's true. That's very possible. They knew a lot of people would come just because of Doctor Who.
I'd be curious to see what the buzz is.
What the numbers are like.
Yeah,
now.
one that's, oh, you've got Doctor Who now, and watch them go through the roof.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
I'm
interesting?
hoping the addition of Doctor Who will expand their platforms. So that's part of why I'm waiting a little bit, because I want to be able to stream it to my TV, and right now with what they offer, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Red Dwarf's tempting. That's a show that I've always wanted to get into and never have.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've only seen a smattering of that.
Up next is Ben.
Ben writes, my weekly ramblings. You're welcome. Hey guys, I meant to mention in last week's feedback that the first words out of my wife's mouth after seeing Power Rangers was, that was awesome. Wow, way to add insult to injury. Because he did not get to see Power Rangers, if you remember last week.
Yeah.
Moving on, Star Wars Aftermath, Empire's End is finished. It was really good. It sees the return of, wait for it, Jar Jar Binks.
What?
I'm just going to continue to read.
Is this the book that brings Lumpy back too?
I think you're right.
If you think his dialogue in the movies was bad, print is worse. I had recently seen a Facebook article indicating this book revealed the fate of Jar Jar. I suspect it was pure clickbait. Without meaning to, and hoping I don't spoil it, the reveal is the most pathetic in history. It's also pure fan service. Literally. You know what I mean when you've read it. Fortunately, that's so small a part of the book, it actually has absolutely no bearing on the story itself whatsoever. The book has sections called interludes. They take a break from the main story and divert to a mini-story. These interludes don't connect to the main story at all, or at least they don't seem to. They may come up later in another book. Who knows? The rest of the story was actually pretty good. The Aftermath trilogy gives a pretty good setup for the events of Episode 7, although it's early enough to allow for extra books. You know, the books that will spit on the EU even more. Havoc Files 3 has arrived in my household, and I quickly finished it. It helped that I had already read in e-form half the book already. I liked the new stories quite a lot, although I'm not sure about this one called Slouching Something or Other. I kid, of course. Sean, it was a good story. Well done, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sticking with books, Aramim Buccaneer arrived at the house the other day. I had ordered it along with a Pharaoh of Mars about 2 years ago, or at least it seems that long. My sense of time sometimes is a bit skewed. A Pharaoh of Mars is still not completed. I ordered them from Book Depository, which refunded me the cost of Pharaoh of Mars when it became apparent they would not be getting it anytime soon. I never got a refund for Buccaneer, though. From time to time, it would pop up in my thoughts that maybe I should contact the Book Depository about that. And as quickly as that thought would pop up, I would forget. Needless to say, its arrival the other day was quite the surprise. Lastly, I have moved on to the last book of the Game of Thrones series in print at the moment. The books are fantastic, but read about as fast as Martin writes. I anticipate sprinkling in other books while I work on this one. That's it for now. Take care, guys.
Those books are just super dense.
Thank you, sir. And a reminder that if you'd like to send in feedback, Keith, what do they need to do?
Just go to our website and fill out the Send Us Feedback tab. You can also send it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com. Well, let's move on to our reviews.
Yay! I do Kermit a lot. I'm very excited to move on. Flailing hands and everything. I'm very excited to move on in the show. What's next? I don't care. Yay! What's first?
Comics, Third Doctor.
Yay!
What did you guys think?
It's good. I really enjoyed
I
it.
really liked it too.
There's a lot of fan service in it, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, and it felt like a Third Doctor story in
'cause
comic
it-
form.
because it was
Just about what I was
good.
going to say.
And then it got great.
Oh, I don't know. I got great, but it was consistently good. The brilliance of this miniseries is the fact that it's like flipping through the pages of a classic Third Doctor story. In fact, the entire time, with the exception of being able to do some things that looked fantastical, I kept sitting reading this thinking this could have been a Doctor Who story. This could have been a television story.
Very
This-
easily
this
for the Third
easily
Doctor's era.
fits in the Third Doctor's era. And I think probably its strength was having Paul Cornell write it. I think he was very grounded in what to expect. I think that he threw in the right nuggets of connections to things in the Third Doctor's era.
Want to even help bridge some gaps.
Yeah,
that
it certainly
we felt
did,
were there.
especially with Yates
that's
in
what I was
the
talking about
questioning
specifically.
of his character. But I just it was one of those ones. They're very quick reads, and on reflection, I'm wondering if they were quick reads because They were page turners, and I just kept going and going and going and going, you know. They're very colorful. They're very succinct in the story that's going on. There are very few surprises. In fact, it feels so much like a Third Doctor era story that I really felt like I kept seeing things coming until one big reveal happened. And it's when Salamander, when it's revealed that that's Salamander. That was a blow my mind moment, because the second Doctor shows up and I thought, oh, okay, I think I sort of remember that getting bantered around, that the second Doctor was going to share in the Third Doctor, which is cleverly done if that's how they did it, because when it's revealed that it's really Salamander pretending to be the second Doctor, I was like, whoa, what a great role reversal there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
I mean, it was cool before. Now it's like, wow.
I read this entire miniseries with a smile on my face from ear to ear the entire time. So that's high praise for a story. Even though there are times where, and maybe had this been in any of the other Doctors runs that I might have had an issue with, but there was a lot of times where I was thinking, oh, this is quite silly and fantastical, but I don't really care because it seems to fit.
Oh yeah, it totally fits. Just the fact that they brought Salamander back is just a master stroke for Paul Cornell to do.
The story
well, then
is,
the use of the Master in the story.
That's just it. The story kind of goes along. We've got these micro robots that are forming bigger robots that are becoming a big killer thing, and the Doctor has to go fight them. Okay.
I love that he called them micro machines too.
Yeah.
Yeah, micro machines. And then so he wrecks this force field. And then Osgood shows up, but it's like, yay! Because I'm glad Paul picked up on that like we did when we went and watched whatever, Damon's, wasn't it?
Yep.
So it was like, hey, cool. So then the Doctor's got to go back and fix something, and the General shows up, and he's doing his thing, and it's the Master! And there was a part of me that was like, well, duh, of course it's the Master. It has to be the Master.
Well, and
but
it's
yet,
revealed so early that the Master's there.
and thank goodness.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
you know, normally in a normal television, it would have been 2 or 3 episodes before, dun, 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 oh, it is Anthony. It didn't matter. It was just there. And I love the fact that the brig was in, you know, right off the bat, that he was on to him.
And didn't fall for it.
And code words and back and forth. And when the Master says, next time you say special transport, I'll know what you're talking about. Because
We'll have changed the code by then.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so well done. It was like, well, of course the Master has to be in this episode or in this story, but good on you. That was really well done and fun. And then the next big reveal is that the second Doctor shows up, and he's been sent by the Time Lords to kind of jiggery-pokery around with the TARDIS and help him out. Right. Okay, cool. Because that's always a, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that's always a fan squee moment when you get
into it.
you just, yeah, all right, cool. And the way it's done, it came right on the heels of the 3 Doctors is when this one is set, so of course the second Doctor's back. Okay, great. But then well, what do you mean? When he goes off to do his thing, I'm like, where are you going? Who are these yahoos you're talking to? What is this all about? I'm going to go slip into something more comfortable. And he comes out in a business suit, and everybody goes, hey, Salamander, and I went, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that was huge.
So I'd actually been spoiled that Salamander was in this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'd seen when they released issue 5, I saw one of the alternate covers. And it's that really pretty one that has it's a picture of Salamander on it. So I was like, oh!
Darn.
Yeah.
That comes at the fault of scheduling them all at once as opposed to reading them monthly. I'm sorry.
That's alright. I did not expect him to masquerade as the second Doctor, which I thought was really clever.
Well, it was, because it's what a nice, you know, because the second Doctor did it to him.
Yeah.
So, turnabout is fair play. And then Jo gets infected, and we've got to go into her mindscape to talk about a funky Pertwee.
That's part of it.
That was, yeah.
That was the part that
my
felt
first
like it
thought.
couldn't have been on TV.
My first thought when they went into it, I went, oh my gosh, this is Funky Pertwee, literally.
They went all Doctor Strange with it.
I liked it.
I liked it too.
I
It's perfectly fine. Again, another one of those things
70s font even.
my brain is going, this is far too fantastical for Doctor Who, and I kept on the other side of my brain is going, no, but it works. It's Third Doctor.
It's
yeah,
the
you're right.
70s.
It does work.
It totally worked.
And works with Joe. It wouldn't work with any other.
Yeah, no,
like
that's I think the main thing. If you had been Sarah Jane or Liz Shaw, you would have had a completely different way of doing that sequence.
Escape, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But with Jo,
and I love how
that's
Paul
how her mind
wrote
works.
The Doctor and Joe's relationship in this.
Mm-hmm.
This is needing to go and watch their relationship in order. This was one of the strongest parts I thought of it so far.
Yeah.
Near the end, they obviously have a great relationship, and he respects her. But this really felt like it was almost a step towards that.
I think
That going that direction.
Paul Cornell sat down and had a list of things with boxes, and he was ticking things off. These are things
I wanna
that need
fix.
to be fixed in the third Doctor's era, and he was just ticking boxes off as he
Yeah.
went. As far down to which another thing that I thought any other story I would have been going, no, that's just stupid. The Master's masks,
Explaining how
and
those
then
work.
the fact
yeah.
that they are part of his TARDIS. Even to the fact that it can cloak an entire helicopter in England back in the past so that they don't freak anybody out. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, this is fine. I like this. This is good.
Or
We're
become a
gonna go with
parachute.
it. Or become a
Yeah.
parachute, yeah.
The only part of the entire thing that I was like, really? Was the Master's eventual escape. And the fact that he just has his mask and then is able to summon his TARDIS to him from there.
Yeah, because you
That
hear
was a bit of a swallow
you
for
hear
me.
the sound of the TARDIS
Yeah.
leaving, and the third Doctor
And you never
presumes
see it, but yeah, it's just kind of like, that's a bit of a stretch.
How did
but
that
all
work?
about it- yeah, how
You
does
know,
that?
did he smuggle it on board the helicopter to begin with, or
Is the mask actually the TARDIS?
See, that was why I sort of felt like they were going with it. It was that because he had the mask and it had enough element of the TARDIS that was what was sending him. But then I kind of went down that road of, I've got to fix this. That's a little too much of a stretch. I've got to fix this in my head. And I did more of it must have been a way to summon his TARDIS.
Yeah.
And the TARDIS came to him and then he left in it. So
Which we've had the Doctor do later, so
we've got a remote control?
yeah.
yeah.
I appreciated all of the Pertwee being choked panels.
There were a lot
Where they
of
have that
those.
same expression.
I thought all the art on the Third Doctor and the Master was fantastic. Some of the side characters, I think,
Brig
could have been
looked
better.
terrific.
The Brig did
Brig
look
looked
good.
terrific.
But
Joe, I think, is the only one to me that I felt
sometimes
was...
I couldn't tell the difference between
Mike
Mike and
was
somebody
tough.
else.
Yeah, Mike
and
and Joe. Benton I thought was fine.
There were a couple that
Benton I thought was fine.
not quite. But all of Troughton looks fantastic.
Yeah.
too.
I think the problem with Joe is just that she's wearing this strange military fatigue outfit.
yeah.
That
she
I think is what
changes.
really, because she's not dressed like Joe, and clothes make the man, and that I think is what more than
Yeah, I
anything
can
was.
see that.
Well, I think
was a
her
little
hair
off
and
to it.
even her face was a little off occasionally.
It almost seemed like it was trying to be Liz.
Yeah,
sometimes.
there were times that it worked, and there were times that it didn't. I think, but overall, I was fine with that.
And it makes me almost wonder if it was maybe intended to be Liz originally, and then maybe it changed midstream, because there's that scene at the beginning where she's going through the manual for the radio, the field repair manual, and handing him clips that he's going to use to build this. I mean, she's being an assistant, which is what Joe very much fell into that role of.
See, that
Because I think
that
starting
read
it,
to me more like it was a testament to how far Liz or Joe has come.
yeah, I think
in her
that's what it
time.
was, and I think that it was Paul. I think saying, you know what, Joe had grown a lot by this time, and let's kind of illustrate that
Yeah,
because
that's true.
the
'Cause
series
Liz
doesn't.
might have just pushed the
The only
Doctor out of
reason,
the way and just done
the only
it
reason
herself.
I feel like it wasn't necessarily from, like maybe presumably a Liz story was the fact that it starts out with Mike and Joe on a date,
yeah.
or having lunch anyway, at the very
Right,
least.
it was- no,
And-
because Benton asked how the date went.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and plus we know that he was kind of sweet on her anyway, and always trying to catch her eye. So
Joe's weapon.
Everything I've learned in the past 3 years.
again, another one that I would have looked at. That's a little cheesy, even in a Mindscape, but we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it and run with it.
I think because it's Joe. I think, again, that kind of forgives. Joe's kind of always had that innocent, childlike quality about her that, we go into her mindscape and it's like, well, of course this is what it would look like. It's just, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anything else about this story?
Good stuff.
Just great.
I'll default to Sean last week. The covers I thought were very underselling. I think they were poorly done,
yeah.
but that's neither here nor there, I suppose.
As much as I've enjoyed the runs Titan have done, this is one that I would probably go pick up a trade for.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would agree with that. It's
This and maybe 8, just because of my love of 8.
well, and the other thing that they really did with this too, at least in my mind, is the master, the dialogue and the
I just
portrayal
heard
of the
it
master.
in DeGaldo's voice.
Yeah, it was written extremely well, and the exchanges between him and the Doctor were just spot on with how they would bounce back and forth with each other. And when he's in the lab revealing that, oh yeah, I've got hidden cameras, beep, 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 and they're just everywhere. And the doctor kind of like, I should have seen that coming. I didn't. Just,
the tea lady, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tea lady.
There were so many of those little touches, even the ones that weren't the fan service, but just the its consistency across the board with how well it was done. And the warping effect in the last episode when Salamander's activated the time machine, and I thought, what is wrong with this comic?
One thing I didn't care too much for was Salamander's outfit once he got to the past. I thought it looked a little weird.
But it was made of Micro Machines, so
Yeah.
I was fine
It
with
looked
that.
like a Dominator outfit. It just didn't work
It
for
did have
I wondered if
Salamander.
there was that one panel
it had
right
the
at the
tall
beginning, and I
shoulders.
wondered if that's where they were
It's got
going
the shoulders
for
and the
it.
ribs, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't work for Salamander.
I think it was all right. He's a bit mad at this point anyway, and I think
That's
his
true,
trip
he's
through the
very
vortex
mad.
unprotected was probably led to that a bit.
Which helps you kind of excuse a lot of his behavior in all of this. But I also liked how...
It would have
his-
been nice to have a line specifically.
Yeah.
The vortex is might
Is
bite
what made
you.
him manic, yeah.
But I like the fact that his modus operandi is still the same. He's just going back in time to do what he just did before the second Doctor thwarted him. I
What he tried to do in the future, he's going to try to do in the past.
I really like that.
What did you think of the ending where he gets away?
Yeah. I hope him to show up somewhere else in the comic lines now.
Well, didn't we establish that they have gotten the line? So that's probably the idea is to bring him back later.
Oh,
so.
the third comic line?
Yeah, I think they said they've.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a running line now too. So,
Really?
yeah,
I'm kind of
I think
surprised.
I saw
three
that
would
somewhere.
be.
I'm a little surprised myself.
Must have
It
sold
really feels like
well.
something that could be done in it. Well, I mean, the last issue just came out like in February, I think. Was
Yeah,
it?
a couple weeks
so
ago.
March. So I don't know.
That's exciting news. A little surprising, though. I got to agree. Of all of the ones, because there's all the new series 9, 10, 11, and 12 have concurrent lines.
They do, and it was announced that 8 was getting a concurrent line too, didn't we?
No, I
Read
never
that?
heard
I never
that.
heard 8. I would have expected 4 to get one, but I also kind of feel like, quite honestly, I don't need one.
Oh,
I would-
there's a lot of 4 out there. I think.
Yeah,
is why.
Yeah.
I would almost rather, quite honestly, for my 2 cents for what's worth, Titan, if you were going to do this, I would almost rather have a Doctor Who line, kind of like the way Big Finish does the mainline episodes, that you just, you anthology series it, where each month you drop in a different Doctor, and maybe they get a 3 or 4 issue arc, and then it's some other story somewhere else in the timeline, to kind of keep that variety going, as opposed to pigeonholing it down to a specific era. But that's just me. I mean, I'm kind of that way even with the 9th Doctor. I kind of feel like, but I mean, 10 and 11 have been good enough, and I think they're still recent enough that there's obviously demand there for them. I don't know. I don't know how a 3rd Doctor ongoing comic's going to go. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll go like gangbusters, because there really wasn't much of that back in the day. So
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'd heard that. But then again, I specifically, and I may be getting my information from a podcast, and I think it might be.
this one,
No. I think it might be. I listened to a Doctor Who comic podcast, and I can't remember what it's called. And I thought that's where I heard that the 8th Doctor was getting continuing series and the 3rd Doctor was getting continuing series, but I may be getting them confused. So
oh sure enough, there he is on that alternate cover. Yep. Hardcore spoiler.
Salamander there.
That's a hardcore spoiler there.
Yep. It's a nice cover.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with, as you were commenting on, is I kind of feel like, especially with an ongoing line, that the covers have to be enticing and make you want to really go, oh, wow, look at that. What's going to happen this month? And I feel like with the miniseries, you don't really get that. You just kind of get beauty shots of,
Oh, I did see that one. Yeah, and that's a good cover.
of what's going on, which is fine for a miniseries, but
Or they're the Iconics pictures recreated in illustration.
Right.
Yeah.
But what cover is that? Is that the introductory one, or is that one later?
that's
the
issue
final
5.
issue.
See, so I can't fault them for
No,
having that
no,
as a
I
cover
can't either.
because
No,
it
I
would have
can't.
already been in the line.
No, it's,
I
total,
did
it's
not
totally
know.
my fault that he got spoiled on it, because we didn't schedule these monthly. We
Yeah.
scheduled them as one, all in one.
Or I just didn't read them monthly and ignore his schedule.
Oh, yeah. It's your fault.
As I've done with other stuff.
Totally your fault, Keith. Once again, they have impressed me, and I've had a lot of fun reading this, and I agree with you. This is one that I would totally own, and I'll go back to.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Assassin in the Limelight. Ford's Theater, Washington, Friday, April 14th, 1865. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln. The place, the date, and the event which made history, or did it? Someone has been tampering with time, muddying the waters of history for his own purposes. Time is out of joint, and the chief culprit is enigmatic Dr. Knox. Somehow the Doctor and Evelyn must put history back on track before the future dissolves into chaos. But Knox, it turns out, may be the least of their worries.
Bum, bum, bum. Provisionally.
Provisionally, yeah. I'll start out by saying if this had been any other Doctor's story, I wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have enjoyed it.
I would agree.
But somehow it certainly fits with the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn. I can't still quite put my finger on why I think that, because there's a lot of things in here that I think miss the mark, but maybe that's because it's an American production. I mean, it's not American production, but it's set in American setting, and there are a lot of things that just weren't quite met for me in making it, not taking me out of the story, making it a little more realistic. The fact that everybody has a Southern accent was troubling for me, because while I do believe there were probably a good number of people in that region that did have Southern accents, everybody seemed to have too much of a Southern accent. I think it was
par for the course for a BBC.
Well, I think it was that's just it. They looked at the era and they went with a dialect, and so I think that's probably why. But there was too much of it. So to me it was you're Americanizing it a little too much.
What's ironic is I think, from what I understand, most of the Americans were actually Canadians. I think there were only a few.
There are a few American actors in this too. Yeah.
Yeah. There were very few British doing.
Did you
American
listen to the
the bonus features? Yeah. Which impressed me.
In fact, I think 2 of them were Canadian and 2 or 3 of them were American, or maybe I'm flip flopping that. 3 of them were American and 2 of them were or 3 of them were Canadian.
I think there was maybe one actual Brit doing an American accent.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it was Clara, right? Because she did the TARDIS too, which had a British accent.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I think for me, where it comes down is maybe it's just we haven't done a Sixth Doctor Evelyn story in a while. It was like welcoming home old friends, and I was so excited to get back into it. And once again, they were just at the top of their game. Colin and what's her name, Maggie, just embody these people so great. And we're at that stage in their relationship where he can make kind of sort of an offhand, crass comment, not really meaning to, but she can still be offended by it and storm off and not do something stupid and then come back to it and, yeah, we're okay. I just needed to, they just have that working for them. And all of their stuff was fantastic. The plot was I thought, pretty good. And I liked the return of Dr. Knox. And I had to kind of stop and think about, which one was this? And it's been a while since we've listened to Peer Pressure
and Medicinal
Purposes.
Or that one.
Medicinal was his first one. Peer Pressure is where the entity comes from. Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've done that one, but okay, I kind of remember this, and I remember his character. And once he really kind of got into it, because it opened with Oscar Wilde, and I went, that's way too early for Oscar Wilde. And so I had to go and look up Oscar Wilde. And, date and birth. And I'll be honest, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to when this was set versus when Oscar Wilde's biography said he lived. And I went, oh, well, yeah, he's in there somewhere. And then they brought it up. The doctor was like, oh, no, he'd still be in diapers at this point. I went, oh, okay, good, I'm not wrong. I just thought maybe I'd blow it off. But the way everything kind of played out, while I enjoyed the story, and there were enough twists and turns that it kind of kept me riveted, the mechanics of exactly how deaths were faked and when things transpired that needed to happen
the alien entity allowed you to have a lot of wiggle room and a lot of fudging of what's going on.
I think that's kind of where I have to fall down on it, because I'm not totally convinced I really understood the why this happened the way that it did, other than, oh, there's an alien, and okay, yeah. But I enjoyed so much of Evelyn and the Doctor that I was kind of willing to hand wave it.
Dr. Knox. It was the Indo that brought the story down for me a little bit.
I would agree with that. Had it just been
Dr. Knox being Dr. Knox and mucking up time,
I think it would have been a little too tropey, though. I was kind of glad that they kind of took it and spun it on its ear. I like the fact that they give the impression that he really did fall in love with Clara. I like the fact it was almost a duping the Doctor, but also he did bequeathed the TARDIS to him for a reason, even though he ended up trapping him in it, as well as one final ha-ha jab at you. That kind of worked out for me as well. But, I mean, yeah, I think that the trappings were a bit convoluted as far as how the story goes, but I think
And
it
then,
works.
And then
for
the
what it is.
resolution was a kind of anticlimactic. Because we get entrapped in the TARDIS, and then he just shows up and tells Evelyn what happened.
Now, let me say this. I was right there alongside you. I was right there alongside you. The Doctor shows up and relays all that, and I sat there and I thought, oh man, you did it again, Big Finish. You did an info dump at the end to wrap this silly thing up. And it wasn't until she said, how long did it take you to get back here?
Oh.
And he's making the comment, and she says, a little bit of gray in your temple, and they allude to the fact, at least they make you believe that he must have been there a long time trying to get out of that TARDIS. Then I thought, good on you. If you're going to do an info dump, that's the way you do an info dump. You drop that line that, hey, this took a really long time. The Doctor's pretending like, no, it's blink of an eye, and for a Time Lord, it was really he was probably trying to get out of that thing for 200 or 300 years, but he shows right back up there with Evelyn, and I thought, I am perfectly fine now that you did the info dump, because
Evelyn picked up on that too.
If we had figured out how he got out of the TARDIS, how he got out of the situation, if they'd have given that to us, we would have had to lose that line, because that wouldn't have been funny. It wouldn't have worked, and so it worked for me. And so I was right alongside you when it happened, and I was going through my mind going, oh, here we go again. And then that little conversation happens, and I thought, nope, I'm fine with it now.
I'd agree. I was gonna, I reversed the polarity. Oh yeah, you changed the settings on the thing. You told us you were changing the settings on the thing. That's totally how you're going to get out of this. Oh, but how long did it take? Okay. The trappings of the story with doing it in Ford's Theater and the assassination of Lincoln, who didn't show up, which I thought was kind of cool.
I thought it was very clever.
That, because you expect that we're going to get there. You just kind of have that inevitable march toward history, that this is the moment that this is going to happen. And then we do, but there's no Lincoln in this story, and it's like, good on you.
And for the most part, I thought they had killed Booth.
I did too.
For the longest time, until they were like, I just saw him. And then we had that bit of dialogue about how the mustache, and he was going to dress up, and I just chalked that line to,
I did too.
Oh, that's who that was. And so the fact that he just faked it because he was an actor was fantastic. I absolutely loved that.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way, and I thought, good on them for whoever wrote this story. That was a great idea to make me think that Johnny was going to take place of John Booth's.
Yeah, that's how
place.
That's how they're going to.
That's how they're going to fix it. And I thought, oh, okay, well then that sort of makes sense. Then to have Booth show back up because he faked his death, I was like, oh wow, okay, that was even better. So
yeah.
Now I'm kind of the same way, and I'm with Sean about. I'm glad that they didn't march us into Lincoln showing up at the actual event, because for us, especially as Americans, that is still a little too recent for us. And I think it's like us talking about the assassination of some Victorian queen or king or something like that. I mean, it to us, we're so far removed from that it doesn't have quite the same impact on us as maybe it would have Brit. Vice versa, the Lincoln assassination, they recognize it's important. They're not underselling it, don't get me wrong, but they don't have that as much of a connection to it. The American Civil War happening at the time, the heightened tensions that were going on at the time, that kind of thing. We still live in that society where there's still heightened tensions, and it's, we still haven't removed ourselves far enough away from the Civil War. So I was actually had that little knot in my stomach the whole time listening to this, thinking, ooh, we're playing really light with something that was really hits home for Americans. But then to treat it the way they did, it worked really well, and I was really appreciative that we got to the end and we never did get to Lincoln. Lincoln never even shows up, and we do get that. So, and the insistence by the Doctor that this has to play out. This is something that has to happen, and Evelyn not pushing back too much about it. Mm-hmm. There was that's what I was so grateful for, because we've had Evelyn in the past ready to change things, ready to, and I thought, oh, we're going to go down that route again, and had to have her more understanding now. She's grown as a character. She's grown as a person. She understands more that there are certain things that have to happen in line.
Well, and I really like the fact that what she was tempted about wasn't trying to save Lincoln. It was saving Clara.
Yep. And she tries. She makes that attempt. Because for all intents and purposes, I think she's stranded there.
Oh, yeah.
So best foot forward.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I suspect maybe I could enjoy it more on the second listen through. Maybe I'd pick up some of those pieces that didn't quite work for me. But I think you're right, Keith. I think it's just the alien became this, maybe not even intentionally, but this kind of catch-all to fix things. And
agreed. And I do appreciate the fact that we did finally get some resolution to the being underneath the dock that we felt was
Well,
or
because-
underneath the pier. I suppose it's called pier pressure because that was kind of left for. We knew that was coming down the road later somewhere. We're going to have to deal with this.
And it was a
resolve
clever
that.
idea to intersect the two and have them both involved in one instead of each having their own story.
Especially since the two audios are so close together.
Yeah.
So the
Or
original.
they were all written by the same
Yeah.
guy, too.
Robert Ross, I think is his
Yeah.
name.
Which I really enjoyed Dr. Knox as a character, and I like the idea of him masquerading through time as famous playwrights or famous authors,
or famous
like-
doctors or famous.
like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle
Yeah.
later. And
I do too. I think my only problem with that is the idea that he's dying, that he's got this disease that he just can't seem to cure. Dude, you have a TARDIS. Go really distant into the future and figure it out. I mean, somebody somewhere has a medical
Well, he's
log that-
clearly cheated death anyway because he's switching to
maybe at that point he's
pulling
already
a
been.
master.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's now using what he's gotten from this alien entity, so it gives them a reason to continue that character and be able to pull that master where he can steal bodies now and go on and continue to masquerade through history and time. So
Maybe that was the difference. Once the alien entity became involved, he no longer had the option of
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing
Well,
I was kind of like,
And I never got the impression that he wasn't sincere about, hey, I've got to get rid of this thing, and they've got to figure out
Oh,
how
yeah,
to do it.
he was
I
just-
mean, so I think you're right. I think that because of the alien influence, he couldn't go figure out how to fix himself. He had to have another vehicle, and this, fortunately, in his machinations, this ended up falling in his lap. That hey, this will work for me and to my advantage. So,
Yeah.
do we know? Will we get more Knox later?
Doesn't look like it.
Oh, that's too bad because they certainly left it wide open.
Oh, yeah, they did.
that we know of.
Yes.
Who knows? They could still bring him back.
Who knows?
Knows. And I hope all of you at home are doing what we just did. Anything else on this one?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
Good story. I'll give it mid-marks.
Ditto.
All right. Well, Sean, what are we going to come up with a schedule?
It's a surprise.
We have no idea what we're
We
doing
don't
next
know.
week. What?
All we
we know
know
what
is
we're
that
reviewing next
we know what we're
week.
reviewing next week for the
Oh,
next 13
I was being
weeks.
facetious. I know what I'm doing next week. I'm reviewing the newest Doctor Who episode.
For the next 13 weeks, we're reviewing new Doctor Who episode. I think it's 13 weeks, isn't it?
I think you're right, yeah. Or it's 12, and then 13 is usually the Christmas
I think
special.
it's 12.
For the next 3 months, we're reviewing.
Yeah, I think it's
Actually, I
12.
can't even say that because they could pull something weird.
They could, or we have Memorial Day falling in the middle of this run again.
And
like
we're
we
not
did
sure
the
how
year,
BBC
and
America's gonna
BBC
handle
America
that.
in the past has shoved everything off a week, and so we got out of sync with the Brits. So that could happen again. If that's the case, be warned. We'll do like we did last time, and we will plow on with the British schedule, so or worldwide schedule, I should say.
But yeah, so we know for sure a review next week will be on the premiere episode of season 10, the pilot. We will probably for Friday Night Who this week be watching Destiny of the Daleks because we suspect there will be a tie-in of some sort with those two episodes. Not necessarily, but maybe. And then I will work on putting together the rest of the Friday Night Who schedule just for fun to see if we can pair them up with what may be coming down the pipe. So stay tuned to the website for more information.
And be sure, if you can, support us on Patreon. Become a Patreon supporter and help us out. For those of you that do help us, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And go check us out on any form of social media. We're out there.
Anything else this week we need to talk about? All right, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.